as Michaela said, these very challenging times. Um, by way of background, I think this is, if Angie Schick is on the line, I think this is number 8 or 9 times I've done this presentation. And it's a great pleasure and honor, and frankly, a lot of fun doing it over the years, because I learn a lot, and it's very interesting sharing my knowledge with people like that are on the line tonight. So I'm assuming everybody's okay. So I'm going to go to the first screen, slide number 1 now, Michaela.
Yep.
So there are 3 parts to the slide deck. The first part is your go-to-market strategy, also known as the positioning statement. And we're going to work through that very thoroughly tonight. The number 2 part is market opportunity, which describes the market and asks the question of you, is it a good opportunity that you have decided to pursue? And the third one is my thoughts as a call it an ideal entrepreneur, and possibly a bit of a self-test in terms of whether you fit into that mode or not. We are only going to do part 1 tonight because it's going to take about 3 hours, and every time I do this, Angie waves her finger at me, so I don't want to get into trouble with her, but the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. So all the slides are there. Over to you in terms of using them. So this is me. And I'm going to let you read this for 30 seconds or so just to get a feel, and then I'm going to give you another point of view in terms of why I hope I can be of value to you. Okay, so I guess in summary, I've been in the tech industry now in BC for 45 years. I was in the Air Force prior to this, and then university in the technology spheres as well. So I've had kind of 3 careers. The first 30 years, 28 as it says in the slide, were as a founder and CEO. And I did, as one of the bullets there says, 8 startups and sold 5 of them. So I've done a lot of startups. I like doing startups. My wife thinks I'm crazy in terms of doing them, but I love the risk and I love the challenge and I love the reward at the end, especially for the ones that are successful. The class software one, many of you may know, this is system that handles all the recreation departments, and we had just all of them in BC to start with, and 730 worldwide. So if you've gone to the rec department and attended a fitness class or rented a hockey rink in BC, you would have used our software. Second part of my career was I did a lot of investing starting about 2003-4, and I did 23 direct investments and also invested into venture capital funds who in turn directed or invested, I'm sorry, in individual opportunities. At about 2014, which is when I was most busy doing direct investing, I was probably in the top 5 of angel investors in British Columbia. As a consequence of doing a lot of investing, as well as my background as being a CEO, I got asked to join boards of the tech companies. So over the years, I was on approximately 15 boards, and I was chair of 12 of them over the years, and I'm now chairman of 2 companies. Interestingly enough, each of them is getting sold right at this point in time. And frankly, it's a big challenge trying to do it right now with everything going on. So that's me. I'm going to keep on moving on, Michaela, and we'll pause on slides that probably have some questions that would arise.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to move the slide 1 over. There we go. Okay. I have always used this slide as the introduction to kind of the theme of the topic for tonight. And I really like this because it goes to the fundamental purpose of a business as indicated by Drucker, and it is to create a customer. So I'm going to pause here for a minute and let you folks read this article or this slide, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. Sorry about that. Hang on. There we go. And we're going to talk about it, especially the question right at the bottom, which is what do you do? So over to you for a minute or 90 seconds or so just to read it. Okay, so as it says in the second paragraph, there are two basic functions to a business. One is innovation and the second is marketing. Many of you have concentrated your efforts on the innovation side so far, and rightfully so. You've got to get a business started. You need something that's innovative to be compelling and appealing to people that potentially want to use it. Now you've got to actually tell people in a very concise and precise way what it is your innovation is. So we're here tonight to work with you to develop a statement that is compelling and will get across what you want to do in terms of the innovation and its use by customers. So it has to be short, it has to be precise, it has to be also compelling, and it has to be driven or presented by you in a very enthusiastic way. So we're going to get to a template, which Michaela was referring to at the start of the presentation, that has been developed over the years. And that's what we're going to work with you tonight on in terms of producing it. So why are customers important, especially in the beginning? So Michaela, this is the first poll question.
Yeah.
So I always ask this question right at this point in time because I put up 5 things in terms of what they are. Michaela's got these here. Cash, that's important. Customer signs up, maybe you get some cash. Feedback on your product and services. Feedback in general. That's the second one. Number 3 is a happy customer. They go, wow, what I just bought from this organization really works. It works well, and I highly recommend them. That's number 3. Confidence by you. Somebody just bought your product, and that gives you a huge sense of pride, thrill, and confidence that you're doing the right thing. And the last one that I put down, just a magic one, is the other bucket. So what I'd like to do is ask you to select one of the following, and then Michaela is going to give us the scores, if you wish, for each one of those 5 categories. I believe there is one best and right answer out of this list, but let me let you take 30 seconds, allow you to fill in the poll, and we'll see how it goes.
All right.
Michaela, am I allowed to fill it in?
Sure, why not?
Actually, it said for attendees only, and it looks like you got me screened out. So,
all right, I think we've the voting is finished. If anyone hasn't, get it in within the next 5 seconds. All right, so our high 60% of our audience has voted for feedback on your product, service, and selling, and 21% voted for a happy customer, 8% voted for confidence, 6% cash, and 6% other.
okay. Okay, so very interesting. I would, the actual one that I will pick and suggest is a reference. And the reason for that is in order to get the second client, you're going to need more of those. So the first thing you want is somebody that's going to become a reference for saying to the next person in line, buy it again. I would agree that between 3 and 2 are 2 is also a good answer, because if you in fact didn't get the deal, but you can get some feedback, so much the better. So I would agree with 2 and 3. One thing I've also found over the years is cash. Cash is not the paramount need at this point in time in the beginning. You need customers. That's going back to the slide up from Drucker. You need customers. You need customer to use your products, and you need customers to give you the feedback on what they just acquired from you. So good job. We're off to a good start. Bear with me a second. We'll just get this back. Okay, this next slide is, and by the way, all these slides, as Michaela says, are available to you. They're actually in PDF form and attached to this presentation. And lastly, having done this a number of times, and it's been videotaped a number of times, it's actually on YouTube. So if you go to just type my name into the search bar on YouTube, you can see videos of this particular presentation as well. So my desire would be listen carefully tonight and ask questions and just take advantage of the use of this time. So this is a journey from the beginning to call it the end or the exit in terms of what the a tech development opportunity goes through. It starts with idea, goes through getting your innovation or technology to work. And remember, innovation is not just technology. So innovation can be a business model that's new, better, and different. An example of a business model that I've experienced over my 45 years is the advent of the internet. And there's this concept called multi-platform connection. So you get a buyer and seller connected in absolutely different ways than you would have 15 years ago or so. And it's just made a phenomenal difference in society. The third one down is your minimum viable product. Do you actually have a minimum viable product right now that a customer would be prepared to use and take live? You actually get a new customer and they use it, is the fourth bullet down. Fifth bullet is product market fit. You declare victory because you've done enough experimenting with pricing and features of the product and which market you're going to address, that you can say, I've got this thing as best as it can be right now. And then the next thing you refine after you get the product market fit is your business model. How do we make the structure of the organization to go to the market in the best possible fashion and make money? And once you get that done, then you're into absolute growth phase, where the two keywords are repeatability and scale. So there are 7 bullets in this particular chart. And what I'd like to do is ask you, the audience, which one of those 7 you're in. So number 1 would be idea stage. Number 2 would be, as Michaela's put up here, you get the idea. So if you can just click on the particular stage you're at, and then Michaela can give us the summary data. Thank you.
All right, everyone, I'll give you 10 more seconds. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Here are the results. Ralph, got a real minute.
Yep, that's good. Okay, so 30%, 20. Okay, good. So tilt towards the beginning at the top then. Okay, so a number of folks with ideas at this point in time and presumably wanting to work through their idea. And then some folks are in, so well over 50% are in the first 2 areas. So that's good. That's good. So no question, tonight's seminar will help a lot. Okay, that's great, Michaela. Thank you. Back to here. Okay, so keep on going. This lower left, upper right line, I put in representing customer growth. So you can see that the downward sloping curve, where it says risk in the upper left-hand corner, goes down, and the reason for it is it's directly related to the number of customers that you have. So a great rule of thumb is the quicker you can get customers on board, the far less risky your business will be, and quite frankly, the much more attractive to investors as well. So last couple of comments. At the beginning, in the idea and largely the discovery stage, you have a hypothesis. You really have a dream and a hope that what you're proposing as an innovation is going to work, but you're not sure. And what you want to do is convert that hypothesis, as it's called, to a fact. And the fact is the fact that customers want to use your product. And these are, again, the neat little one-worders, if you wish, for the various stages that you go through in order to get to the hypothesis being proven as fact. Next thing, and I'm going to put some of these slides in just for reference in terms of backgrounder, just to give you some things to think about tonight. In the world of strategy, there are only three choices, and they are the following. You have an innovative product. Customer intimacy means your solution fits like a glove. Very frequently, this comes across as you, the vendor, know the customer needs and the customer industry so well. On an individual customer base, you may be more expert than the customer is, in fact. And the last one is operational excellence, otherwise called low price. And that would be the likes of, say, Walmart, for instance. So product innovation, 3M, that folks that bring you the stickies. Customer intimacy fits like a glove. For instance, the GoToMeeting solution that we're using tonight looks pretty good. Now, you're going to start out with product innovation as your first strategy, no question. But as your organization works out down that discovery curve that we had in the prior slide, this one right here, you're going to start moving to product intimacy. Customer intimacy, I'm sorry, because you're going to really understand the customer's business, possibly, as I said, even better than they will. So first innovation, second solution fits like a glove. That's how your world is going to unfold. Now we're into what we're trying to do tonight, and that is get your positioning statement filled out, at least version 1. And in the black in the bottom, what we want to do is we want to equip you, the messenger, with the capability to deliver your message in a very compelling way. So this is the business model canvas, and I'm going to assume that a number of you have bumped into it. If you haven't, you should, because this is an excellent way to get version 1 done of a business plan. And you can see in the slide right in the middle, I don't think my cursor, Michaela, does my cursor show up at all moving?
Yes, it does. Yeah, we can see it moving.
Okay. So right there, where I'm pointing the cursor right now, says value propositions, and this is what we're going to work on tonight. But you note that this value proposition section right here is a hub between revenues over on one side, over here, and costs over there. So cost over up here in this section, and revenue down here in these three sections up here as well. Value propositions a hub. This must get done first in order to properly do a business plan consisting of filling out the revenue and the cost structures that you're going to deliver. Okay, that's why it's really important. Now, this is the template that we're going to fill out tonight. We're going to do the first 6 lines and a little background. So how this template came about was there's a gentleman actually in Silicon Valley, and his name is Jeffrey Moore, Jeffrey with a G, and he he had a PhD in English, actually, as I think, if I recall correctly, from the Midwest. And he came out to Silicon Valley and got a job doing consulting. And this was back in the late 80s. And he went from company to company, and all the startups seemed to have a similar problem. So he decided what he wanted to do was take the wisdom of a very clever way of approaching it, and he created this structure called a positioning statement that takes startup companies through the process we're going to go through tonight in a couple of hours, and fill out their how they're going to, what their strategy is and how they're going to go to market. In 1992, I think it was, there were about 300 of us, and we all sat in the theater at BCIT and heard him talk about what his template was all about. And he again went through each one of these 7 lines at that meeting over the course of about 6 or 7 hours. I got out of this meeting, and this would be 92, and I got started in 76. So I was in the tech industry for 16 years at this point, had done a lot of startups, sold some of them, stuff like that. And he started asking questions in this presentation that I should have known answers to, but didn't. And quite frankly, it scared the heck out of me. So I went back to the office and got the management team together, and we started filling this thing out on a number of the products that we were involved with at that point in time. And it made a huge difference. So overview of what this is about. So you can see the green section right here. And what that does is talk about the customer in two ways. Who is the customer and what is their problem? What is their specific problem? The middle section, this one right here, is the connection between the customer and you. So the third line represents the connecting strategy that we're going to show you tonight. And the fourth line represents the solution that you're going to supply to the customer and the benefit or value that they receive. Now, there's always competition out there. So this third box in red outlines who the competitors are. And right now they're just identified as A, B, or C, but we're going to talk about them. And the sixth line represents the differentiation that you're going to provide to a customer, which represents new, better, and different value than the competition can offer. Okay? And in doing so, you're going to win the deal, because that's the objective. And the seventh box is kind of the pink ribbon box, which is, or pink ribbon strategy, which is what else do you have to provide the customer that they would value a lot as well. Things like I have a 1-800 number to do support, I give upgrades, or I do upgrades as part of a process. You get the idea. Okay. So that's what we're working on tonight, and we're going to break it into 1, 2, and 3 parts. And each one of those 3 gentlemen that or individuals that Michaela mentioned are going to get up and present theirs, and we're all going to provide them some constructive comments in terms of feedback. Okay, so next slide. So I wanted to give you one that is an example, if you wish, of what a final product may look like. So let's call it a positioning statement for Uber. So I look at it and I go, I have only taken Uber twice, and both those times were in Toronto. And I was a fellow passenger, if you wish, with somebody else who had done the whole booking. But I'll tell you what my impression of Uber is, as filled out by the positioning statement. It's for people who live in congested urban areas. And the problem that they're facing is they need more quality and convenient transportation choices than taxis. And what is Uber? It's a transportation service using an app to connect the two parties in real time, the two parties being the transportation service and you as the customer. So what's the value that Uber provides for that's very, very attractive? Well, when you book, it's a fixed fee. You know how much you're going to get charged before entering, before getting in the Uber vehicle. And the competition is traditional taxi services, and they can be very unpunctual. So what does Uber do? It provides certainty of your pickup time, which is the critical part of it, by showing the car location in real time, and you can see as it's moving to you, and also get a sense and information as to how long it's going to take. So I'd just like you to think about this format that we just went through. So first line, who or for, who are the customers that you're targeting? Next line, what is their need? What is their need precisely? We can talk about it, I guess we can't tonight, but in prior meetings, we could talk about whether this is precise or not, but this is what you have to get your solution understood in terms of what problem is it you're solving. Connectivity comes next. We'll get into detail as to how to do that. And that line is the value, the key value that you're going to provide to the potential customer. Competition shows up in the form of the unlike line. And what is it, kind of like the trump ace in the hole? What is your closing card, if you wish, in terms of why the customer is going to sign with you? And in this case, I think it's certainty of real time. We were in Toronto when I was using Uber. We had to get to a meeting, and we had no choice but to go to Uber because taxi service couldn't tell us where they were and how long it was going to take to get to us. Okay, hopefully this makes sense to everybody. So here we go. Why is this important to you? What we're trying to do tonight is get that statement that that you saw the template for 2 slides back in place, so you can talk to a lot of people with it. You can talk to investors, and believe me, if you do a good job of this and you're enthusiastic about it, you can go a long way in terms of telling them what they want to hear and them deciding whether they want to talk to you or not. You're hiring new staff. You can use this for the staff hiring process, where it quickly tells them what you're doing, what your company's about. They get alignment with what your thinking is, and they also get enthusiastic. Risk mitigation is really important, because what you don't want to do is start building product and then start fumbling around into the market and having to redo product many times. So what it does is it causes you to think first about what you're wanting to do, and it minimizes mistakes. And it also, after you've considered a number of alternatives and decided on the right one or the best one, you feel really confident that you're doing the right thing. This is the best thing I can do with the opportunity that I see. And lastly, customers love to hear a short, concise statement, and they then get a high sense of confidence that you as a vendor are going to be successful, which is what they want. Every single customer that buys your product wants you to be successful, or they wouldn't have bought the product. And the last thing that I put on the list as to why this is important to you, and it's the new ventures competition. So all the judges are going to ask you, what do you do? And you want a really compelling answer to that question. And I know over the years, I've been in contact with some of the participants post this presentation, and it's really helped them through the competition process. So perspective, why are we doing this? Hopefully that'll help you. Okay, so now we're into the first part, first two lines. So who is the customer? Second is, what is the pain you're solving? So we start with the pain, which is the first thing you have to do is get that pain nailed down precisely, because think of it like you're building a house. You're going to go away and build some product, and you don't want to build a product without a set of plans. And the plans are the problem definition the customer has and how you're going to solve them. Okay, so the initial point that you have to get to is understanding exactly what that customer is, and I call it the ouch. So when I start looking at positioning statements of people coming at me, because over the years I've had a lot of people come up to me saying, Ralph, you do a lot of investing. Can I present to you? And I get them to fill out the positioning statement. And the first thing I do is I go, how big is the ouch? How big is this problem? Is it a big problem or is it a small problem? And I measure that in terms of thinking about the market itself and a person who would have the problem, and thinking to myself, is this something that's their number one or number two priority that must get solved? Can they delay it? Can they substitute or work their way around the problem? So just how big a problem is this opportunity addressing? The second is, behind that is, how many people have this problem? So is the market big, small, somewhere in between? Is it easily accessible? This is, in my opinion, probably the most important line to an investor in terms of deciding whether it's worthwhile or not. Yes, the solution's important, but the problem definition and then the thinking behind it is really, really where it's at. Okay. The next part of it is, and I put this slide in here because of, it's one of those slides I put in because I think it's worthwhile for you to appreciate. This is a key decision for you because when it comes to exiting, you want to have a company that's got, frankly, a high degree of worth in the buyer's market. And there's a book called The Magic Box Paradigm by Ezra Roizen that you should read. It's one of those books that you need to read about the first 100 pages. But this is pretty much the summary of what that book has to say. So going down the left-hand side, there are three types of companies out there, businesses out there. Those are metamorphic, which is they change a market position courtesy of power. And I'll give you an example of that. And that would be Amazon buying Whole Foods. So Amazon came right out of the blue and moved from, call it e-commerce, into bricks and mortar in food. But it was a very clever move on their part, I think, because there's cross-leveraging capability happening right now. And the combination of those two businesses just is phenomenal, in my opinion. The next one down, actually, I'm going to go to the bottom one first, called incremental. And these are businesses that are kind of additional operating synergies to existing solutions out there. They kind of add value, but there's generally something big behind it. And a bit of a, call it a facetious way of looking at it is we use Excel and we add some template, some clever template, but some template using Excel. Okay, the one in the middle is transformational. And transformational means that you've done something really, really unique and different. And you are one of the few games, possibly even the only, that has capability of doing that. And the buyer in the background really, really values the technology and expertise that your company has. So I'm chairman of the board right now of two companies. One's called Maverick Software, and they're in the data business and software business, software solution business. And the other is called Redland Technologies, and they're in Victoria, and they're in the medical imaging business. We are in the process, as I mentioned to you before, about selling both of those. Maverick Software is in the incremental business. And candidly, we're getting crushed in terms of going to the market right now. And in my opinion, I kind of know how to sell these things because I've done a lot of them, but it's an example of an incremental business, and it's been in business now about 18 years, and it's not been able to get into a niche and a strategy that's towards the transformational position. The one in Victoria manufactures a specialized semiconductor material called cadmium zinc tellurium, and it's used in medical imaging, specifically CT machines. And we are the only game in the world. And I think if everything turns out okay in the next couple of months, it'll be the biggest sale in BC this year. Okay, so Kyla is also going to ask you to give us a position or your thoughts as to where you are. So she's going to put up a polling slide that's got.
We have one question, Ralph. Do you have time to answer it?
Pardon me?
Do you have time to answer a question?
Oh, sure do. Yep, go for it.
Okay, so someone asked, like, what would be the difference between like Lyft's positioning statement versus Uber? Because they are a very similar service.
Yeah, I've never taken Lyft. I actually don't know what the difference would be, but it'd be in line 6. They're both in the same. I looked up in Wikipedia as I was putting that together, and Wikipedia calls the market segment ride hailing, and Wikipedia's got both Uber and Lyft in there. I don't know. I have no experience with Lyft, so I can't comment. Is anybody in the audience able to chat or send you a chat message?
Yeah, they could. Or you can put up your hand and I can unmute you. Another question is for an app like TikTok, what would be the ouch problem that they are solving?
Okay, and so I have never used TikTok at all. I've read about it, but I don't know. Um, I'll go to the audience again and say, does the audience know what the ouch problem is? What does TikTok do, Michaela? Do you know?
It's like the new like video creating tool. It's kind of like the new Vine. So it's short videos that like influencers and Instagrammers are using to like promote themselves and
Okay.
like content. It's like a way that people are going viral kind of super fast.
So, question, Michaela, is it like something else that's already out there, only better in a certain way?
It was similar to Vine, I would say, but I actually haven't used it myself. I was
Yeah,
joking about BBC getting a TikTok account.
yeah. I'm probably showing my age by not being, by not knowing about it, but I really couldn't comment on it. Good question, and I like the question. I wish I could answer it.
Um, okay, and then someone asked if you could just explain metamorphic a little bit.
Yeah, one plus
Here.
one equals three. Two big businesses getting together and just taking over a huge space. And the two big businesses got together, generally come from different market areas. So there's a crossover. The media industry, that was like radio, TV, and then print. And there's been a lot of metamorphic type mergers and acquisitions over the years in that space. I don't see too much in technology. I see it's the big guys are going to look for transformational, like Google's buying YouTube, that kind of thing, and they're just moving into another space. Uh, but it's technology that's very hard to replicate, and it just transforms their home business. One plus one equals three is metamorphic.
Awesome. Oh, and then someone mentioned that Uber is more like was transformational and Lyft is incremental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And
Uh,
then
uh,
about TikTok, it's more similar to Musically, but then someone here says I think they purchased Musically and then remarketed it to like make it like shorter video creating software.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you. It's the benefit of the audience. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Like I
Okay.
said in the beginning, I learn a lot doing these presentations, so I appreciate it.
So the next poll is broken down into two polls. Do you want me to start the
Yes.
first one?
Yes, please. So, what I would like you to do is, and let's just do the one and only one then, Michaela, is where do you think you have this opportunity that you're wanting to evolve? Where are you on the incremental to transformational scale? One means incremental, five means transformational, three obviously is halfway in between. So if you can just fill that out, and we'll just do this one, Michaela.
Okay. All right. I'm going to close the poll and here are the results.
Interesting. Wow. Good. Okay, so Michaela, when it comes to Mark and Dave, and what was the third gentleman's name? That's one of
Chang.
the sorry,
Yeah.
Chang.
Chang. Yeah.
Okay. Just to give you guys free notice, I'm going to ask you which one of those 5 categories you put yourself into. So we have, for the benefit of the audience, there are 3 people that we're going to use as examples tonight. They volunteered, and I'd be keen on getting some sense as to where they think they are in which category they think they're in.
Okay. All right. Dave, Mark, and Chang, I'm just going to unmute you guys and you can start.
Hi, this is Dave. I put myself down as 3.
Okay, and who's this?
Dave.
Dave, 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just backgrounder, Dave. When we get you presenting, I'm going to we'll go through a little bit of that. Mark?
I put myself down as 3 as well.
Okay. Chang? I didn't hear him, Michaela.
Chang?
Aha, you're right. I'm unmuted now. This is Chang from uBrand app. I gave myself a 2.
2, okay. Thanks, Chang. Okay, back to you shortly. All right, so let's go do some work. And where's the cursor? So this is, I've got 2 examples that I have included here. First example is a company that's going back years ago now called Neoteric. A gentleman named Jeff Auchinlack. Some of you guys may know Jeff, great entrepreneur in the area. Bear with me a second. And he founded a company that was largely based in the UK that addressed the problem that blood banks have in the UK. And just by way of background, blood in the UK for blood banks is purchased. So you walk in as a donor, you actually get paid. So it costs money to get blood into blood banks in the UK. And the need was in the UK for them to lower their costs by reducing A, blood wastage, and B, transfusion labor. So the amount of time and risk for that matter as well. So the 4th statement is for blood banks in hospitals in the UK, and the need is again to lower costs. Okay, so that's example number 1. Example number 2 is a company that I invested in called FitBrains, and this is going back 2010. FitBrains was a software solution based on some technology coming out of the University of Pittsburgh on brain health. And this particular researcher identified that there were 5 aspects of the brain, and he developed a gamification strategy, so gaming strategy, to exercise all 4 parts of the brains in a different way because they're all different, because all 5 parts are different. And I'm going to get in the doghouse for saying this, but the target market was females aged 35 to 55 in North America. And the reason for that is moms at home, young kids can't get out, but want to keep their brain acuity active. So target market, females aged 35 to 55 who want to maintain their brain acuity in an effective and convenient way. Okay, makes sense? Okay, now that's the first 2 lines. My ask of you is you take a few minutes and fill out your 2 first lines. So you have the template, and you can go ahead and write it down. Just put for and who need. You can use the template electronically to fill it out if you wish. Go for it. And we'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we're going to hear from Dave, Mark, and Chang in terms of what their answers are to their particular opportunity. Okay. So, Kyla, can you hit the timer if you don't mind? And let's make it 4 minutes. So I make it 6:21, so 6:25.
Sounds good. I have another question for you. So someone is asking that they're curious about the incremental and the transformative. Is it all about scope?
Degree of difficulty, generally, in terms of Warren Buffett likes to say there's a moat around your solution. And the moat's either really, really hard to get over or really easy. And if it's easy, it's probably incremental. And generally speaking, I find incremental are additions to an existing solution that's already out there. The transformational ones are definitely either a new business model or a new piece of technology. And it's, for whatever reason, got a big moat around it, and it's very hard to penetrate.
All right, and then another question. So regarding for target specific market first, then spread out to other markets. For a specific market, addressing now or all the customers in the near future? Sorry, question. So yeah, do you address the specific market now or all the customers? Yeah.
So I'll try and anticipate what the question is, because it's a typical one that arises, and it's a very good one. So your solution may apply to different markets. Quite often that's the case. So I believe the question is, what do I do if I've got different markets on the for line? Albeit the pain the pain or problem may be the same in each one of those markets. But what happens if I got different markets? Fill out one for each one of those markets is my answer. And as we get towards the end, this is going to sound hopefully a little humorous, having been through this before. What I do is I fill out all these positioning statements and I put them down on the table, kitchen table in front of me, and I go get a glass of wine and I start looking at them and I start trying to assess which one's the best one to go to first. And the first one is called the beachhead strategy. And it's got characteristics like quick customer access and acquisition, maybe proximity because it's easy, whatever the reason is, but speed is of the essence, because recall we talked about you want customer acquisition fast. So the best criteria for selecting which target market to go to the first is the one you're going to get to the fastest. You want customer references and feedback. Is that okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. That's a very good question and a very common one as well. So you've got the general way I characterize it, you have a horizontal solution or piece of technology, and you've got, and it can apply to vertical markets, and you want to find out which one of those vertical markets is the best opportunity for you. And I think it's speed of customer acquisition, customer use. Okay, so Michaela, are we going to be able to present Dave and Mark's, or how's this going to work?
Yeah, so I want to acknowledge that I have a few questions, but we're going to move on to in the time now. We're going to move on to our volunteers. So Mark, Dave, and Chang, you all are unmuted. Mark, do you want to start us off first?
Yeah, I can start. Do you have my statement there to display?
I don't have it to display, but
That's
if you
not
want
a problem. I have it here if you want to, if I need to screen share. Or do you want me to just tell you, do you want me to just say what it is?
Tell us.
Okay, yeah, so my positioning statement is quite simple. It's for car dealerships who need more reliable, lower costing leads.
Okay, so, and thank you for forwarding this a little while ago, Mark, appreciate it. So I start with the problem line first, which is the who need. So generally speaking, having been in the sales game a fair bit, leads come in with three characteristics. One is volume, just sheer quantity. Second is cost per lead, and the third is quality. So if you don't mind, I'm not sure how the word reliable applies. Can you tell me a little bit more about that word?
Yeah, so you can also use quality in replacement of reliable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking quality, reliable would probably have meant in your case likelihood of closing.
Yeah, without getting into it, my business in further detail, it's a different business model than the conventional current way of getting leads. So without really talking more in depth is kind of hard to explain. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So which one of the three, volume, quality, or cost, is most important?
I would say quality and cost are equally important.
Okay. Now let's do 1A, 1B then. Which is 1A?
Let's go with 1A as cost and 1B as quality.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is concentrate on 1A first, which is cost. And let's go to the 4 line if you don't mind. So is it the VP sales or the sales director or sales manager, whoever, that's concerned about this, or is it the individual rep? It says car dealerships, so that could mean, it's not going to mean, and I don't want to sound facetious, but it's not going to mean the maintenance department, for instance. Obviously, they're not too concerned about that. And I doubt it's the owner themselves or themselves. So is it the VP or is it the individual reps?
It'll be sales managers and GMs.
Yeah. Okay. So if we can change the 4 line from car dealerships to sales managers and GMs.
Okay.
Car dealership GMs, perfectly fine. So let's say car dealership sales managers and GMs who need to lower the cost of leads.
Yeah.
So if we can do that at this point in time, that's a great start. Okay.
You want it more specific. So even though I might have more problems to solve, you want to keep it to the biggest problem.
Correct. So when you go in and talk to sales director or sales manager, I'm looking for the biggest ouch. So is he going to say to you, Mark, my biggest ouch is I'm paying too much per lead, and you need to fix that problem? Or is he going to say, I need more? Or is he going to say, nope, I get lousy leads and I need the close rate per lead to go up?
And he'll say all three, but the most important would be cost.
Okay, so we're going with cost, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, good start.
Okay.
And it looks good. I'm interested in your line 7 when we get down a little farther.
Sure.
That'll be an interesting conversation. So Dave, since I have yours next, would you mind talking to us about it, please?
Sure. So 4 people who need a way to communicate with loved ones with speech issues.
Okay, so I don't normally do this, Dave, but I'd like to understand a little bit more about the speech issues and your methodology. Give us a little color in terms of what you're trying to do.
So it's a communication aid for people with speech issues. For example, people with Parkinson's or people who have suffered a stroke and have an issue with their speech.
Okay.
And just to add another thing, it's for long distance communication. So for instance, to replace the telephone with augmented auto correction of their speech.
Okay. Okay, so this is just inform Ralph kind of questions. Trying to go through it. If I have Parkinson's versus a stroke, do I have the same speech issues typically that you are going to addressing? Can we call it amalgamate or aggregate the speech issues into one title? Is there a certain type of speech issue you get really good at?
So there's a condition, so a sort of drop down from Parkinson's. There's something called dysarthria,
Okay.
which categorizes majority of, or it gives a label to a certain type of speech issue.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. And is that what you're trying to do, is solve that particular type of speech issue?
Primarily, yes.
You want to get really, really good at solving that speech issue. Is that correct?
I think to focus on that, solve that one problem first, and then branch out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good statement, a good way to describe it. Could you just spell for me, that characteristic that you just said.
Dysarthria.
Yeah.
DYSAR ATHIA. I think I can't. I'm trying.
Okay.
I get
Okay.
muddled up with my own spelling of.
Okay. Now, the speech issue is, here's what I'm thinking what you're saying. Let's say you and I were talking, we'll consider this arm length, and I have this speech issue. What it does, and I'm putting words in your mouth here, if I'm hearing you right, what it does is I speak and I have this issue, and it kind of translates or cleans up or whatever, enhances what I said imperfectly into, call it clearer and more understandable wording. Is that correct?
Yes. So what typically happens with somebody with Parkinson's is if you're having a telephone conversation, there'll sometimes be a word out of a sentence that is unclear to the receiver. If you ask the person with Parkinson's to repeat the sentence, they themselves don't know which word it was that you couldn't hear.
Right.
And so after you ask them to repeat the sentence, they will repeat the same problem. And therefore what happens is that after 3 times of repetition, generally the conversation diminishes because they don't know, they can't tell what the problem is.
Okay. So can I go to line 2 then, Dave? And can I maybe revise it accordingly? Who need a way to clearly communicate with people who have that phrase dysphoria? Dysphoria speech issues, maybe, something like that? Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. So that gets the thing pretty pointed in terms of the problem is that we're trying to solve. Okay. Now, do you have access to the? Actually, you put this thing into a template, so you can just go ahead and revise it electronically right now. If you don't mind doing that on the fly as we start going through this thing, I'd appreciate it. Because what I'm going to do is ask you to send it to Michaela and me.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, and when you say people on line 1, so these would be
people, generally it's their friends and family.
Yeah. Okay. So could we just put in there, I think it's in the beginning, let's put in there, certainly to start with as a beachhead strategy for friends and family who need a way to communicate with family who have, who need a way to clearly communicate with family members who have dysphoria speech issues. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Good
All
one.
right, Jane.
And one more then, Michaela from
Yeah.
Chang.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
Do you want to hear the positioning statement?
Sure do.
Okay. So for retail hospitality businesses that have 5 or more locations who need more customers, repeat customers, and higher spending per visit per customer, the uBrand app
Oh,
gives
that's
a retail buyer
That's all I want.
memorable.
No, hang on a sec, Chang. Just the first 2 lines.
Okay.
So retail hospitality, 5 locations or greater.
Yep.
Right? Greater. And new customers, repeat customers, and higher spend. Right?
Higher spend per visit per customer.
Okay. So tell me more. Retail hospitality. So is that hotels?
Nope. It could be restaurants. It could be liquor stores. It could be cannabis stores.
Okay. Want to boil the ocean, Chang. Too wide and deep.
That's a hard proposition.
I know it's hard, but you're gonna bang your head against the wall, figuring out who the heck you want to address in the way of a customer.
Yep.
So, tell me a little bit about you. Have you got industry background?
Yes.
Okay, tell me more. What have you done?
Me personally,
Yeah, in the hospitality industry.
in hospitality. Not a lot personally, just some consulting work for clients in hospitality.
Okay, that's a bit of a concern because I would think you'd really want to know this domain pretty well. This is a highly, highly, highly competitive domain, and
Yes.
so can I ask you as we go through the evening to net this thing down? So let's go to who the two together. Can you pick hotels, restaurants, maybe cannabis stores, something like that, and net down into a segment for this retail hospitality
Yep. I would pick restaurants.
market?
Yes, I would pick restaurants.
Okay. All right. So we want 4 restaurants with, let's say, 5 locations, or we'll just call it multi-locations, because there is a difference between 1 and 2 for sure.
That's correct.
And then the which one does restaurants need more? More customers, repeat customers, or higher spend per visit? What's the most important one of the needs?
Well, it depends on the restaurant, I suppose.
Okay. Keep going. Tell me more.
So there's gonna be those restaurants who are doing pretty well already.
Yeah.
And if they're maxed out in terms of their space, then they don't really need more customers. That's not gonna help them. They're just
Yeah.
gonna create a line out the door.
Yeah.
But they do need their customers to come back to give good reviews and to recommend the place to their friends and family.
Okay.
And
So
that would
here's
be
what
customers.
I would do if I were you. Let's pick that one. And I'm going to go say retail hospitality restaurant, or restaurants, period. And the next line down is who have space constraints and must get higher spend per customer, or whatever that need is as a consequence of the higher space. They got space constraint, and they've got to get more. They ought to get more turns or more heads per customer.
Okay, I like that.
So we're just using this an example tonight for you, but you get the idea. I need you to net this thing down,
Yep.
and you can pick a couple others as well if you want. Go for it, but you get the idea in terms of where we're going.
Sure. So you want me to go into the number 3, what our product is?
No, that'll come next. So give us about 20 minutes.
Okay. So
Yep.
you want to stick with the 1 and 2 and go into possible ways to get more specific, you mean?
Yes, that's correct.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
So that's what we're trying to do tonight. So the learning far, sorry.
Yeah, we found that restaurants that had even 2 and 3 locations might be the minimum, but even 2 locations was too few.
Okay.
But 3 locations plus, and then they really benefit and really feel like they need our app. So that's how we came up with the 5+ based on some StatsCan numbers on how restaurants break down.
Okay.
I would say from the need more, need repeat, and need higher spend per visit per customer, up between those 3, we would want to target the restaurants who specifically need a higher spend per visit per customer. Because the restaurant that knows that is very savvy and already has sophisticated marketing metrics. And that's the restaurant that will see an immediate ROI with our product.
Good. Good. Those last few words are music to my ears. Immediate ROI.
Good.
And that puts them in buy mode, and that's exactly what you want to do.
Yes.
So that's good. Good statement. Okay, so if you can revise the next few minutes, just as we proceed, just go ahead and revise line 1 and line 2 based on what we just talked about.
Okay.
Okay, so learning so far. What have we learned so far? For those that have a horizontal solution, like I would consider what Chang just said a minute or two ago, as a horizontal solution looking for vertical markets, and we want to start tuning and finding the best vertical market. That's number 1. Number 2 is the big ouch. Now, I actually, Dave and Mark's, I actually like Mark's one in terms of the car dealerships. That's a problem that's been around for a long time, and one that possibly can get addressed in a new and different way. Dave has got the speaking one. That's a very niche market, but interestingly enough, there's probably not a lot of people trying to solve that problem. And my suspicion is it's quite a technical problem because you're into speech. I'm an electrical engineer. I get the notion of speech and how to deconstruct it and then reconstruct it properly. So that sounds like a pretty interesting opportunity, actually, in my view. Looking forward to hearing some more. Okay, so great start. Michaela, you said you had a couple more questions. Should we take them now, please?
Yeah, so I have one more question. What was the name of the company whose product can be used on a CT, like new material in Victoria? 2 people asked that.
Redlem. R-E-D-L-E-N.
R-E-D-L-E-M. Okay.
L-E-N, and is it no?
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's it.
Okay. Okay, so we're good. So we're now into the second part. Remember we said there were 3 parts, lines 1 and 2, part 1, 3 and 4, part 2, 5 and 6, part 3. So we're now into the second part. And these are 2 things. Now we're starting to we know who the customer is and what we're trying to solve. Now we want to enable the customer to find you as a potential vendor. And then the second thing is we want to structure your solution that the customer gets big value. So here's what the line 3 is, and I'll just do this fancy little Google thing for a minute. So what I want you to do is think about how you would describe and do a Google search to find you. So think of the text that you would put into the Google search bar to find you. And this defines what's called your category, but in doing so, it connects you to the customer. So does this make sense? So I want to find Uber. I type in ride hailing choices and I get Uber and taxis and Lyft and all the other guys, but they end up on that search page, first page. Okay. So that's one way to describe it. And then at the bottom, you can see another way of sometimes describing your positioning that I've heard about before. And that goes something like, we are like, I put down ABC product, only different and better because. And this is another way of describing it. So we are similar to, but better than is the construct in that case as well. So that's line number 3. So when we come to Dave, Mark, and Chang, I'm going to ask you, what am I going to type into Google that's going to find you? So Chang's got that app for restaurants. Okay, Chang, how do I find that app? How do I find you in that app? Okay, and the next one is the solution, your solution. This is line 4. And we're going to talk a lot about benefits and value next. But the metaphor that I use is this concept called a ambulance. And there's a very common marketing phrase called, you are the rescue for the problem that a customer has. And the ambulance has got 3 characteristics that provide a solution to that customer, value to the customer. And they are the following. It arrives promptly. It arrives with highly skilled and quality people that can deliver a solution. And it arrives with enough of them to make the solution deliverable as well. So it's got the characteristics of quantity, quality, and timing to deliver that value. So they are in the hurt and rescue business, and you're in the hurt and rescue business. And again, the ambulance is the metaphor for the rescue. Now, we're going to now have to get into some terminology to make sure that we're in sync. And there are 4 words on this page that I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about, and they are feature, benefit, cost, and value. So there's the first thing is a feature, and the feature is a function or something that your product does, it performs. The second is the benefit gained by that feature. And there are 2 subcategories for determining the benefit, and they are at times measurable or tangible, so you can think about them. And there are other benefits that are really hard to measure, but they're equally important as well, depending on what you're solving. And then their costs, pretty straightforward. And the formula is your value is the benefits minus the costs. Okay, now the question I always ask here is, where is your price? Well, it's in the costs. So do we have to be lowest price in order to deliver, I'll take that back. That comes in the next slide. Okay, so value is benefits minus costs. The next one is, this is how you win. So again, you're in a competitive situation. You have benefits minus costs deriving your value. Competition is doing the same thing, deriving their value, and you want to win. The teeter-totter, you want to move the teeter-totter on your side down to the floor. And the customer agrees, you will win if your value is greater than the competitor's value. Okay. My question here that I was referencing 30 seconds ago is, do you need to be lowest price? Now, oh, good for you. Oh, good for you, Michaela. So that's great. So can you vote? Do you need to be lowest price to win deals? Yes or no? I forgot, Michaela, that we actually put this up as a poll. It's great.
So good. All right, I'll give it 10 more seconds. All right, and here are the results.
Good. Good. This is the best group I've ever had. I've had people get up and go, yes, absolutely, da, 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 da. You are in the value business. And you're going to see a later slide which attaches features to value. But basically, you have to build your product to deliver the biggest benefits, which then translate into value for the customer. I will typically say here, and I will again tonight, that the best thing you can do for yourself, in my opinion, if you haven't done so already, is take a sales training course. And offered by BCIT, they're really good ones over there, and they will really get you going in terms of how to think customer, and therefore allow your evolution of your value proposition and also your ability to close deals. Probably one of the best uses of time. When I first got started, my background was I was doing engineering, got out of engineering school, went to MBA school, totally useless in terms of selling. Went to BCIT and about 5 other sales training courses right in the beginning. Xerox, interestingly enough, used to have the best one out there years ago. And I just took as many sales training courses as I got. And then that, in my opinion, was probably one of the key ingredients to success in the beginning. Sales, sales, sales. Okay. So this is how a customer decides. And this is a model of a person, obviously. So they've got a head and a heart. And the head's got the brain, and the brain's got numbers in it. So that when you start talking about the quantitative aspect of determining your value, such as spreadsheets and data and da 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 da, this is where the head comes in and starts to compute whether they should buy from you or not. And the other element, aspect of individuals is a qualitative one. And it gets down to, do I trust you? Do I believe in you? Have you achieved trusted advisor status with me? Do I believe that I'm going to get what you want if I put all my eggs in your basket? You get the idea. And not everybody is, everybody is different, and the mix between those two are different for everybody. So you have to know that people are going to value your, or determine your value with a combination of these two inputs, and you must appeal to both. Now, examples of what they look like are, as benefits look like, and these are the ones that are numerical, if you wish, are the financial ones. So I can increase your revenue, I can increase your profit, I can decrease your costs. So we talked to Mark, and Mark, I would suggest, is in the, bear with me, Mark, a sec. Yeah, Mark. Mark is in the lead generation business, and he's concerned, his current customers are concerned about decreasing costs. Mark goes in and says, I can decrease your cost. To somebody that decides on decreasing costs, great fit. Dave is interested in clarifying people. So I'm going to get to the next slide. Actually, let me finish this one. The other element is productivity gain. So can we increase a business's productivity? Output per generally working hour in a plant. And the third one is risk mitigation. So, and I put down think insurance. In this day and age, risk mitigation concerning the coronavirus is you take your organization, and the one in Redland and Victoria is dividing their company into two parts, A and B team, or red and blue, I think is what they're using. And the issue is risk mitigation. We have to do something to keep the risk that nobody is going to get infected with the virus. So protecting the company's safety, protecting the company's reputation, you get the idea. So these are all logical, tangible, and quantitative. The next ones are the qualitative ones. And
I
these
had
are
a question, Dave, from someone.
Yep.
Ralph, sorry, I'm reading. The guy's name is Dave. From Dave, what about social improves environment?
Okay, so let's go to this one, Dave. I'm not sure if it's answering your question or not, Dave, but these are the emotional, intangible, qualitative ones. So improving the environment, hard to connect money to improving the environment, though there are situations that I've been in, but possibly do some of these under number 2, Dave, fit in terms of improving the environment, creative learning, connecting, belonging, that kind of thing?
He gives the example of like reducing diesel with renewable energy.
Right, right. So a combination of, if you wish, economics, there's no question that that is quite achievable. I mean, I was in Africa this past summer, and they're all going to renewables right now. They're going to solar panels, as an example, and obviously improving the environment as well. So there's I have an MBA. I saw the business plans for some of those sites in Africa converting over. I'm involved with First Nations up the coast in terms of getting diesel out of there. And generally it's run of the river applications, so small hydro, trying to get that out of there as well, because diesel is horrible in those environments as well, toxic fumes. Okay, so I'm on to, again, emotional, intangible, qualitative. 2 aspects. One is personal, second is corporate. At a corporate level, people make investments to improve employee satisfaction, for sure. And also customer satisfaction, obviously, as well. And then there's personal satisfaction. I buy an app because I want to buy Chang's app. I guess I'm on a business side, but if I was Chang on a consumer side, I'd want to pick my best restaurant that fits my needs. And it's based on meal and so on. Okay, so people come in 2 parts, qualitative and quantitative, and your solution may appeal to any one of these number of elements that I have listed in the last 2 slides. Key to understand and deliver value. The next slide is called, I call it roles in the buying process. It's important for you to appreciate how people make a decision. And the first place you go is the user buyer, and the user buyer is the person that's going to use your solution. And this could be an accounting department and you're replacing the accounting system. It could be whatever. So in Mark's case, it's the vice president of the general manager or the marketing director, sales director. That is the user buyer. And that person has to become a champion. They have to become a champion of yours because they're the ones that will say yes or no to the deal. So converting them and finding one of them first is number one importance. The next thing that happens is the user buyer has to figure out, is there anybody that can say no? So in, say, the car dealership, maybe the app is too expensive. So I put down finance. It's probably not going to need to go in-house. It probably is an app. But if there's constraints on loading apps on cell phones, that's an IT problem. Legal, possibly Mark has got a contract that's pretty wicked and people won't sign it. So these are people that can say no. In the car dealership, probably the finance department or the admin area. And then there's the economic buyer. In Mark's case, let's say it's the general manager or the owner. That's the person who can say yes or no to spending the money. So the champion would walk into the economic buyer's office and go, here's what I want to do. And the economic buyer would say, have you checked it out with everybody? And the champion would say yes. And here's what I want to do. I've looked at 2 other choices, total of 3. And this is by far the best one because it's got this value that the others don't have. That's how they buy. Now, consumer buys the same way. So at a consumer level, a consumer will go through each one of these buying roles over the cycle that they purchase it. But first off, they will say, this is a great choice for my need. They'll go through, can I afford it? Is there any problems with using it? And then they'll go to the affordability thing, which is the economic buyer mode, and go yes or no. So it applies to not just a business, but to a person as well. Okay. Any questions, Michaela?
Not at this time.
Okay. So now we're into the 2 examples that I used 20 minutes ago. And Neoteric, recall this is the gentleman with the blood transfusion problem, or lowering cost in blood departments problem. So what happens in blood management is the blood is stored, at least it was at this point in time, and these hospitals in the UK, it's stored in a central location. Think of it like a giant fridge. And every morning they remove the blood from the fridge and they take it to the various operating rooms, and they have a location that they put the blood in, and it stays there throughout the day. And at the end of the day, it is until the solution arrives, thrown out because it can't be refrigerated. So what he did was he developed a special purpose little fridge on wheels and some software to support the fact that the blood had been taken out and situated by these operating rooms. And they loaded up the little fridges and they wheeled them out to the operating room. Okay, so the category on line 3 that Neoteric was in was they are a blood transfusion management hardware and software solution. So if I was to type into Google blood transfusion management hardware and software solution, I would find them, and they did. Then their solution again is this, if you wish, system on wheels, and we'll call it controlled access storage, so that unused blood that's allocated to the operations can be returned to the central storage. They merely take the fridge and they return it back to central storage, eliminating wastage. Okay, so it goes back in. Same temperature between the main storage and the locations, so it can be returned, so they don't have to throw it away. Okay, makes sense. And the next one is FitBrains. And FitBrains again is It's a scientifically proven brain training system delivered using both SaaS and mobile platforms. And we started out with SaaS, and then we went to an app-based strategy subsequently. And again, it was scientifically proven, so we separated ourselves from just also ran type training systems like this, and we delivered it in a very convenient way. In the beginning, it was on a computer, and then we went to an app platform, and I'll tell you more about that when we get into the next section. And what it is a suite of challenging casual games that exercise all 5 main brain areas and help to create a healthy lifestyle. So that's the benefit. The value is we want to use gamification to exercise all 5 of your main brain areas and provide you a healthy lifestyle. That's the benefit. Okay, so now it's over to you to do lines 3 and 4. Line 3 again is do a Google search in terms of what your category is. Give us the Google search criteria. And the line 4 is what is the benefit that you provide? What is the key benefit or value that you provide? Okay, so let's take 4 minutes to do that. And it's 7:02 plus 4 is 7:06. So we'll come back at about 7:07. And we'll first do Mark again, then Dave, then Chang, same order as last time.
That's good.
Okay.
You're all muted too, guys.
Okay. This method's not going too bad, Michaela. Seems to be doing okay.
We're only halfway through.
Yeah, it's hard. It's without seeing the looks on people's faces, you don't get that interaction, obviously, and you don't get that feedback. Okay, probably cut it a little short because this one should be pretty straightforward. I know Mark and Dave have theirs done. So Mark, why don't we start with you? And what I'd like you to do is start at the top again. And so the 4 line and work our way down the template with what you filled in. Obviously in 3 and 4, but also what your revised text is in lines 1 and 2.
Sure. So I've got car dealerships, specifically GMs, who need lower cost leads. My product is a lead generating app that gives dealers more control, that provides access to potential buyers before spending money on them. But I would actually change my line 3. I would just keep it simple and I should probably change it to a lead generating app and take out that gives more control.
Yeah, so and I'm thinking I could ask, and I could do it myself here, but I could type into Google right now a lead generating app, and I'm going to get a lot of hits, I'm sure. They're not going to find you. You're probably going to end up on page 100. So that's not going to do you any good. So what do we need to do in the way of adding some text in order to allow Google to land on you and you land on page 1? What else do we need in there?
You
Describe
could
that
do
app as an environment, if you wish.
a car shopping app.
Okay. Now, you're the general manager, so you're looking for this app. So is it be like a lead generation app for car dealerships?
It'll be a
Like,
lead generating app for car dealerships, but at the same time, it's a bit of a marketplace, so it would be a shopping tool for consumers.
okay, okay. So there's another positioning statement as well that's in parallel with this one. Is that correct? Which is
Correct.
this is for people. The 4 line would be for people who are in the process of buying a car.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is another positioning statement that I left out because I wanted to focus on the economical buyer.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We need to get in a car dealership, Dave, because lead gen app could be obviously applying to anything.
Exactly.
So we need to segment this thing down in order to at least give you a chance or give people a chance to find you. Okay. Now, is there any other way of netting it down? So we're now into lead gen. Next segmentation strategy is lead gen for car dealerships. Is there another segmentation that you want to apply to it? Car dealerships with multi-locations. I don't know what other operating factors there may be.
Again, I got to come at it from 2 different angles, from the user perspective and the dealer perspective.
Yeah.
From the dealer perspective, I would say a lead generating app for car dealerships, a dealership car lead generating app. I can't really narrow it down.
Okay. There's no size element. Yeah, I haven't bought a car in a little while, so I don't know. And I obviously have not been involved in running a dealership either. So let's go with car dealerships for the moment. So Product X is a lead generation app for car dealerships.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then let's go to the next line. Line 4, that provides.
Provides access to potential buyers before spending money on them. And by that, I mean before spending money on that actual lead.
Okay. Now that's a pretty nice feature and value to a general manager, right? So I get
Yes,
quite a quick preview. I get a quick look at this lead. Is that correct?
exactly. And you decide how you want to act on it.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. What about that provides a quick look at the potential buyer before spending money on the lead?
Yep. Yeah.
Would you be
And you
okay
just
with that?
want, yeah. So just kind of rearranging words and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And sounds like you've been in sales maybe a little bit. I'd throw in the word qualify. Able to qualify the lead or partially qualify the lead before spending money.
Yeah, that works too.
Okay. Think it over, whatever, but that's pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing the next couple,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll hear in about 20 minutes. Okay, good one. Okay, that's a good start. All right,
Thanks.
good job. Dave, can we come back to you, please? And if you can start right from, again, line 1
Yep.
and go down.
Okay. So the updated version. So for friends and family who need to communicate with friends and family who have dysarthria.
Okay.
Flow is, and then so line 3 and 4. Flow is a subscription service that provides enhanced communications.
Mhm.
So I have an amendment I've done. So now line 3, I think, should be something like flow is a communication aid for people with dysarthria.
Perfect. Perfect. High five, Dave.
Thank you. And line 4 should now, I'm think it should be that provides auto correction to a conversation over long distance.
Perfect. Now, do we need long distance in there, Dave?
Well,
And
essentially, it's to replace the telephone.
yeah. So
So
we don't need long distance. We just need electronic communication or something like that. Is the media?
yeah, I've been trying to figure out what is the ideal to replace long distance. Yeah. What we've been finding is, depending on people's age, it means different things, and that was one of the struggling points. Was one group of people understand what Skype is, and some people know what TikTok is, and some people know what a fax is. and it's we haven't come up with a term that really resonates with a broad group.
Okay. Now, can I help you out a little bit based on what you said? So what it does is the return speech coming back to the people in the 4 line, friends and family. It cleans up the word itself, or words themselves, plural. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it makes it understandable.
Yes.
Okay. So could we say something like it provides an automatic correction capability for misspoken words?
Yeah. Auto correction.
Sure. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
Because that's a huge benefit. Okay.
Yep.
So if you can revise line 3 and 4 so that we're going to do this again one more time. So we'll get the first 4 lines with the revisions that we've talked about, and then we can go and hear what you're suggesting about line 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good, Dave. It's going well.
Thank you.
I'm interested in hearing this, how this is going to work. So we'll get to that in a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And Chang?
Okay, so uBrand app gives restaurants memorable marketing moments with their customers by providing a custom branded white label app that's available in both the Apple App Store and the Android Play App Store within 2 weeks. That provides an increased per visit customer spend of 72 to 95% compared to non-app customers based on data from 35 locations in 2019.
Okay. So let's go down one more time, starting with 4. What's your 4 line say? Yeah. Line 1.
Oh, line 1, right.
Yep.
For restaurants with 5 or more locations
Yep.
that have a sophisticated marketing campaign with clear metrics.
Sorry, say that again.
For restaurants with 5 or more locations
Yep.
that have a sophisticated marketing campaign with clear metrics.
So do they have that, or is that what they need?
That's what they already have.
Okay. So I want to solve a problem. What's the problem that those guys have got?
The problem is they don't have the spend per visit per customer that they want. So they need a higher spend per visit per customer, and they need an immediate measurable ROI.
Yep. Okay. So for restaurants with greater than 5 locations who need a higher spend per customer.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the next line then? Our
uBrand app.
What is your line 3 again?
uBrand app gives restaurants memorable marketing moments with their customers by providing a custom branded white label app that's available in both the Apple App Store and the Android Play App Store within 2 weeks.
Okay. So we need to chop this down and actually kind of refocus it a little bit. So if I want to find this app, I'm the general manager of Keg Restaurants, and I want to find this app because I'm intrigued. How do I find it, Dave? What do I type into Google?
You'd probably type in custom white label app for restaurants.
Okay. Period.
Yeah.
Okay. Custom white labeled app for restaurants. Okay, so let's try a little tighter segmentation. Is there a bit of a further purpose to the app that we can segment it down? I'll give you an idea. Segments, it focuses on repeat customers to get a higher spend.
Yes.
So I probably move that kind of wording in there if possible. I don't know. And then what does it provide then? What is line 4? What is the value or benefit that I get from your app? I know I'm going to get higher spend. Tell me how that's going to happen.
Oh, I didn't have the how in my line 4. I just had you'll get a higher per visit customer spend of between 72 to 95% compared to non-app customers.
Okay, that's okay. That'll work. And then forget the rest of it, Chang, in terms of going into the App Store in 2 weeks. Just
Yeah.
put period right after the those metrics.
Yeah.
You got my attention with those numbers, which is what you want to do.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So going pretty well. This is pretty standard in terms of when I run these events. This is actually doing pretty well. So this is good. So Michaela, any questions or thoughts from the audience?
Yeah, okay. How do you define your Google search statements or keywords for a solution and technology that your clients don't know exists yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The answer is I try and stay away from technology, and you got to go to their pain. So they should be typing into Google, Michaela, what their pain definition is. I don't have enough customers in my restaurant, and it's because the per spend's too low. Let's go to Dave's concern about that hearing issue or sorry, speech issue. I'm having trouble speaking to somebody that's got that speech issue, dysarthria or something like that. Yep. On Mark's case, I run a car dealership and my spend is too high on lead generation. So solution 4, spend too high on lead generation. Solution 4, that's that speech issue. Solution 4, lead cost too high. So to me, it's what's the problem? What is the categorization positioning strategy is? Get into that statement what the customer's problem is. And was there another one?
Sorry, quick question, Ralph. Can you explain the difference between line 2 and 4? Can't you say it's it's a customer who needs this and our product provides this?
Yes.
What's the differential between those two lines?
Right. And so let's do Chang's treatment. So he's got his problem is that there's not enough spend per customer going into the restaurant. And Chang provides an app that causes the customer spend to be I don't know 90 whatever it was greater than a non-app situation.
72 to 95% greater.
Yeah. So it should be quite specific in terms of what that value is. And in Chang's case, it's the spend. In Dave's case, it was cleaning up the text. And in Mark's case, we're going to get the cost down. And how he's going to get the cost down very cleverly in Mark's case is that they don't pay until they're happy, so to speak. They get a
Right.
sneak preview of what the look for, what the opportunity is.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay. But you're quite right, because many a time I hear, I think that was Mark asking a question. Many a time I see and hear line 4 a repeat of line 2. We solve the problem at line 2, period. And that's not good enough.
I
You
can
need
see
to
that.
put in how.
Got it.
Yep. Good question. Any others, Kyla?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Someone just asked, how does Chang's app increase spend by 72 to 95%?
And we'd want to get into that detail as a comma because, but I'm letting them off the hook a little bit. We'll come back to that.
I can speak to that if you like.
Yeah, not yet. You're going to be able to speak to that in line 6 because this is where the pushback's going to start. So the next part of it is where it's going to get a little more challenging for you.
Sure.
Okay. Good question. Okay, so we're now into the third of 3. Unlike competition A, B, or C, our product is, and this is differentiation. So this is a relatively easy concept to understand, hard concept to execute. So the concept is this. You have competition and you're in there and you're delivering your benefit, as is your competitor, which is in line 4. And the value is roughly equal, which is what that dotted line looks like above those 2 vertical arrows. Okay. Now, next step is the person doing the buying says, right, he invites in the competitor and they come in and they provide their differentiator. And it goes something like this. We are giving you these benefits, but we believe relative to the competition, we can do the following better than competitor that you're looking at. And that takes it on the vertical arrows on the left-hand side. Now you come in after the competition's there and you go, nope, we're even better. We've got a bigger differentiator, and it's that positive gap above those 2 short dotted lines on the right-hand side that generates the wow factor, and the deal goes in your favor. Okay, so let's go to, since Redland was talked about over in Victoria, in terms of what our value proposition is, and it goes as follows. The imaging quality to a radiologist, courtesy of our technology over Victoria, is going to increase by 10x, which is going to allow diagnosis of circumstances never possible before. That's line 4, so that provides. And line 6 is our dose of radiation that you're going to receive to get that higher image quality out is 80% less than the current technology. So that's line 4 and line 6 with that over in Victoria. And think of it this way, they're not only getting enhanced image, but the dosage is significantly reduced, and dosage is being legislated, reduction of dosage is being legislated worldwide now. So it's actually getting to be mandatory. So a buyer gets benefit number 1 in line 4 and extra benefit number 2 in line 6. That's the model. You have to structure your delivery to be able to do that kind of thing. So let's take a couple of minutes and let you fill out your own. And then we're going to get Dave Chang and Mark back up for Cameo Performances to finish off what their positioning statements look like. And this is the hard one. Okay. Michaela, is there any questions?
Oh, okay. One question is like, do we need to explain jargons like PPE every time we're drafting the sentence?
Yeah. Yeah, the answer is no. I think jargon's okay in these statements, and the reason for that is you're looking for, say, customers, and um, they'll know the jargon. If the statement's being used for an investor, for instance, the answer is yes. Probably have to explain.
Okay, thanks. That was it.
Okay. So there's the two examples, so let's finish it off. So the first one that I've got up on the screen right now is Neoteric. And so we then get down to, you see the first four lines, and the highlighted lines are unlike our competitors. And the competitor in this case was just business as usual, manual systems and paper-based systems. So same, don't do anything. Okay, what our product did was it eliminates deaths from blood mismatching. This is the extra benefit. So not only does it provide returning the blood that's positioned in operating rooms back to the main storage area, so we don't have to throw it away, it also eliminates deaths from blood mismatching using barcode confirmation. Okay, so we got two benefits. One is we don't throw the blood away, and secondly, we don't kill anybody. Okay, a little story behind this one. So Jeff and I, back maybe 10 years ago, when I was helping him out, he and I had to choose between what our lead benefit was. So is it don't throw the blood away, or is it don't kill people? And we actually thought it was don't kill people. Being good Canadians, that's what we decided. So Jeff built all his marketing material based on don't kill people. Now, the buyer in the hospitals he was trying to sell to was the chief financial officer. So I pose this question to you. Is the chief financial officer more concerned about saving money, courtesy of throwing blood away, or is it because sometimes people get killed due to mismatches? And I'm being a little rhetorical here because the answer is costs. So is it cost versus deaths? And in this case, we had the marketing strategy wrong, and it was actually costs, which is why you see costs, don't throw the blood away, in line 4. And you see don't kill people in line 6 as the extra benefit. So the CFO goes, great, you saved me a whole bunch of costs, and line 6 means I get to stay out of the newspaper periodically. Okay, and that's a true story. Cost him 6 months worth of downtime in terms of sales execution. Next one is again the healthy lifestyle one, and our big competitor was in Silicon Valley, and it was Loomis Labs, and they had between 35 and 40 million dollars US invested in them, and we put about 1.5 into FitBrains. And what we did was we not only did the gamification strategy, which is what Loomis did, but we also added in some features that kept it fun, social, and competitive if you wish to be competitive. And the consequence was users came back to us a lot. It's pretty typical in this day and age in terms of gaming solutions, but not back then. So we won, and we ended up in Apple's store in the education section as the #1 app for about 12 months in a row. At which point in time, a company called Rosetta Stone phoned us up and said, we saw you and we want to buy you. And it's interesting because we were down to our last $100,000 figuring out how to spend it because this wasn't going well. And we went from a SaaS environment and went into an app environment. This is back when apps were just getting started. And by merely doing that, we ended up in the Apple store rather than going bankrupt, and were able to sell at a very attractive result to Rosetta Stone, who in turn has turned it out to be one of their main pillars of business activity these days. So true story. So this counts in terms of doing this right. And now I'm going to turn it over to you to do lines 5 and 6. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Who are your top 1 or 2 competitors? And They could be do nothing, which is, you saw that happen to Jeff. And what is your differentiator? So this is where we're going to really challenge Mark, Dave, and Chang to come up with the differentiator. We now know their main benefit, but what is that extra push that's going to get them across the line in first place? So it's now, hang on a second, 7:31. Let's go for 3 or 4 minutes, say till 7:34, 35, and we'll come back to our 3 volunteers. Any questions, Michaela?
No, none at this time.
Good, okay. Okay. Excuse me.
All right, Ralph, are we ready to?
We are. So should we start with Mark again?
Sure, Mark?
Mark's on a bit of a roll. So Mark, can you start on line 1 with the revised versions of 1 through 4, and then talk to us about your 5 and 6?
Sure. So I have 4 car dealerships, specifically GMs, who need lower costing leads. Our product is a lead generating app for car dealerships that provides access to buyers before spending money on leads. Unlike competition like Auto Trader and Car Gurus, our product provides a less expensive, more accurate way of reaching buyers.
Okay.
Now, after listening to you, what I don't like about my line 6 is that it's basically a reiteration of 2 and 4.
Correct. Good way to describe it. So I need to ask, and you may not want to talk about it for privacy reasons if you wish. Talk to me about, if you don't mind, and say no if you do mind. How do I get this look ahead capability at line 4? How do you do that?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So, like I said, my business model is completely different than the business models currently out there. Business models currently out there are basically classifieds, where dealerships have a platform to advertise their cars, and they hope that consumers find their product. Now, every dealership uses different platforms to advertise. Not all dealerships use the same platforms. My product, my platform flips that, and it the way it works is that people who are looking for cars inputs their information of what they're looking for, and that information goes out to car dealerships, and car dealerships get to decide whether or not they want to push inventory to consumers.
Okay. So I'm the GM And I get a partial look at a lead then, courtesy of the consumer putting in what their needs are, if you wish, or desires are. Is
Yes,
that correct?
yes, you get access to what they're looking for, and of course, every lead has different. Some people know exactly what they're looking for. Some people know they want a four-door. Some people know what they want the car for. So there's
Uh-huh.
different parameters that consumers will put in,
Yeah.
and dealerships will have access to this, and it's up to them whether or not they think it's worthwhile to them to send inventory to. And if they feel like it's a value to them, then they get to send inventory to said user, and there's a cost for that.
Okay. And when you say send inventory, what's that mean?
Like a landing page, a vehicle description page via the app.
Ah, okay. At which point in time the meter's turned on?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And then then the consumer, gets to decide whether or not that's a car that they're looking for, and if they decide it is, then they get to connect with the dealership.
Okay. Okay. This is interesting. So let's go back to line 4. So you're right. So that statement is quite right. Access to potential buyers before spending money on them. Pretty compelling feature. And then in line 6, Mark, I'm wondering whether it's something like they can make a quality assessment at that point in time of likelihood of closing. Is that a fair statement?
That's fair. I was also considering gives lead spending control to dealerships.
Yeah, is that different than that provides?
Again, not really.
Yeah.
So can you repeat
See,
what your suggestion was?
so sure. So first off, I love your benefit of look before buy. So that's a pretty compelling, in my opinion, opportunity,
Good
provided
value
you give them,
proposition.
yeah, provided you give them enough data to qualify the lead according to whatever the qualification characteristics are that they're looking for. Um, but to me, what our product does is, I don't know whether you can or cannot say this truthfully, but it will provide for a higher close rate.
I can't say that definitively, but it lets the dealership, it lets the GM, the managers and sales assess that and decide themselves whether or not it's worthwhile for them.
Okay. So do they get any benefit extra after they send inventory, as you described, to this customer? Is there anything? So are they part of the whole ecosystem at that point in time? They're no different than any other car dealership?
Correct.
Mhm.
The biggest value is being able to see potential buyers and what they're looking for
Before that you spend money,
before
before
you
they
spend.
spend money.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Is there a volume metric that's in play? Are they getting more leads? Anything like
Uh,
that?
that would have to be because I haven't launched the product or anything. That would have to come with data after the
Hmm.
product is launched. And of course, there's the whole thing. To get into it, dealerships care about two things: cost per lead and conversion rate. So dealerships are willing to pay more for a lead if it's a higher conversion rate. So naturally, with this kind of business model, if you have a lower price, you're going to have more inventory being pushed to each consumer, which in turn is going to give a lower cost per lead, but it's also going to be a lower conversion rate because there's a bigger pool that the consumer sees.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, price is relatively irrelevant.
Yeah.
um,
See, I was going to, in line 6, I was going to conversion rate. That's where I was going to try and go. And can you build your product, for instance, or is it part of your product strategy that using your system, a dealership can learn the characteristics of the best buyer that they should pursue as a dealership, as measured by conversion rate?
I don't think that's a measurable statistic.
You do not.
I don't believe so. I think the added value and what I could maybe use for line 6 is dealerships get to see what other inventory is being pushed to that user, maybe from other dealerships kind of thing.
Okay.
I do want to give as much information to dealers as possible while keeping consumer data private, consumer information, personal information, contact information private.
Right.
But if a dealer can see what other inventory is being pushed, then they might see, hey, only 10 cars have been pushed to this user, whereas 30 cars have been pushed to this other user. It's going to be a better ROI to push to this user for now.
Exactly.
But
And that's kind of a proxy, is it not, for conversion rate?
yes.
Because it will enhance conversion rate, will it not? Or it should, to the smart dealer.
Yes,
right?
yes, theoretically, yeah.
Right. Okay, so I like that. So could line 6 sound something like, and our product provides a view of the inventory being pushed to a prospective buyer, a potential buyer, allowing the dealership to make a more sophisticated decision on whether to pursue or not?
Yeah. I feel I like to keep it simple. So to me, that's quite long, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah. You can wordsmith the damn thing down better than I can.
yeah. But that works.
Okay, okay. So your first line is look before spend, and the second line is you, the dealership, get data in terms of how competitive an opportunity is.
Okay,
I like it.
perfect.
That's good. Good for you. Okay, Dave.
Right. So from the top, for friends and family who need to communicate with friends and family who have dysarthria, Flow is a communication aid for people with dysarthria that provides autocorrection to spoken words. And then line 5, unlike competition, Sprint, AT&T, and other telecom services. And then line 6, our product is unique, effective, and affordable.
Okay, so we're gonna work on line 6 then, Dave.
So my current thought on line 6 is our product prevents social isolation, and keeps friends and family connected.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Simply because you're solving the problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to an emotional or kind of a qualitative value proposition that strikes right into that. I like it. Yeah. Okay. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are Sprint, AT&T, and other providers like TELUS, for instance, in this field? Are they actually
Not,
competitors?
well, because only in terms of replacing the telephone.
Mm-hmm. So what
So
do you use? What do
sorry,
you use? What do you use to communicate?
it would be some form of voice over IP.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
So
more like Skype.
yeah, exactly. Okay. So there is a technology backbone that has to be used a certain type. Correct? You cannot use standard telecom stuff.
No.
Okay. Okay. I like it, Dave. Good luck. No, I was going to ask the question, what's the technology behind, but we don't have time to do that. So I'd be interested in hearing about it because that's pretty neat. Good for you.
I mean, I can talk to you about it offline afterwards.
Okay. All right. Last but by no least, Chang. So Chang.
Thanks, Ralph.
No problem.
Yeah, the U brand app gives restaurants a custom branded white label app that provides an increased per visit customer spend of between 72 to 95% compared to non-app customers. Unlike gift cards and other loyalty reward methods, our restaurant app gives the restaurant an app already rated 4.9 out of 5 on the App Store, which leaves a cash balance on the customer's phone that begs to be used and not wasted, and results in more frequent, higher spend per visit.
Okay, I don't understand. So let's go back to line 6. Somebody asked the question, how's this whole thing going to happen? So what do you do? How are you going to get these restaurants? We'll say ABC restaurant, and they sign up. What do they do? Because they want to get higher spend. How do they use you to get the higher spend? What do you give them?
Yep, they give us their logo. They give us the marketing campaigns that they want to run, and we skin the app with their branding and logo and information, and then we put it on the App Store within 2 weeks.
Okay, and then what happens? So it's in the App Store.
Yep, then it's in the App Store. Then they offer discounts or rewards and encourage their customers to download and use the app. And then the customers start spending on the app rather than with cash or with a credit card.
Okay. And is the theory that since it's on the app, the spend goes up?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Because
when they
it's
spend
so
on the app, they earn rewards. So they want to spend more on the app than spend other ways equally.
Okay. So line 4, the benefit is, and this is to the restaurant owner. Line 4, the benefit is again what the spend is going to go seriously up. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. It's the increased per visit customer spend.
Of how much?
72 to 95%.
Wow. Okay. And then the differentiator, the even bigger wow is what? Does the repeat customer rate increase as well? Do they keep on coming back more than what they would normally do?
They do.
That's where I would be going with number 6, line 6.
Okay.
So not only do you get the dollars up, but you get the frequency up.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so just in the interest of time, because we got like about 10 minutes left, I'm gonna hold off on any questions people have, and if there's time at like the very end, maybe we can get to them.
Okay. Thank you, Michaela. So there's about 4 slides left, so let's go through them. So thanks to the 3 guys that volunteered tonight. I thought that was very useful and actually very interesting. I enjoyed that. So this is the Neoteric full system. And Jeff used this as a marketing tool to great success, especially after learning that the that provides line in our product line were not in the correct sequence. And it was an expensive lesson. This is the FitBrains one. And the key learning here was the mobile, where my cursor is. When we got this app, it out as an app and ended up and went into the Apple store, it took off. Just that mere strategy caused a big win. Now this next slide, and there's 2 slides that I've got left to go through with you that are somewhat connected to the overall theme tonight, but I think it's really, really important that we go through this. Here's your issue right now. You've got some equity dollars in your company, and you've got to build an app that's going to deliver maximum value to you. And the value to you is getting customer acquisition, getting customer deals closed. So here's a sequence of thinking in terms of how you want to decide how to spend that money. So we have talked about the target market down to value tonight quite at a lengthy time. So you got a target market, the customer's got pain/problem, and you have determined the value that you want to deliver to the customer. Okay, so the next thing that happens is you got to figure out the features to build. And the features are going to go into a process, if you wish, that eventually becomes your minimum viable product. So the first decision you need to make is every single feature has to deliver a value, an element of value for the customer in your product. Do not build features that don't deliver value. This is very easy to say at a CEO founder level, but if you're not doing the programming, you need to make darn sure that the people doing the programming, for instance, are in fact adhering to this criteria and rule. And back when I first got started as a CEO, IBM put on a course, and I remember this instructor coming into the room, and the first thing he said was, take it at face value, and this is going to probably hurt some people's feelings here, that effectively, but not knowingly, programmers are drilling holes in the bottom of your boat and causing water to come in. And the reason is that they're not getting proper direction in terms of making sure that the features that they're working on in their code base is actually driving the value you want for the customer. Because this is your success strategy. You need to spend as little time and money as possible doing development in order to get the value up to a point where your likelihood to close is really, really big. So I would take this slide, print it off, and stick it in front of your computer or on your desk because this is it. So the question you want to always be asking is, am I spending my hard to get equity dollars doing feature development to make darn sure that it's delivering on the value equation? Okay. So that's that slide. Next one is a regurgitation a bit of what we already talked about in the very beginning, but I do want to go down to next steps. You now have a good positioning statement, a good version 1. Now, as Steve Blank, a very well-known entrepreneur at Stanford, out of Silicon Valley, likes to say, get out of the building and go talk to people. That's the last slide. What you want to do is take this thing and use it basically as a feedback tool and go around and talk to people, talk to potential customers, talk to investors, talk to people in the domain who know, and just take them through and go, hey, here's what I'm planning on doing. What do you think? Give me some feedback. Do I have the problem nailed right? Do I have my benefit statement, solution benefit statements nailed correctly? And do I have my differentiation identified and completed as well? So get out of the building. This is your opportunity to do it very inexpensively and quickly by just walking around. You're not building anything. You're just walking around and talking to people. Words of advice. Summary. Going down the page, think value. Think customer first and value to customer, and you'll win. Get a clear definition of the pain along with your differentiator, and you will win for sure. The opportunity is worthwhile pursuing. That'll come with subsequent meeting, and decide if you want to be an entrepreneur. This is important statement that is in the next sentence. You will typically be spending 5 to 10 years of your life if you decide to pursue one of these opportunities. The average hold that I have in my investment portfolio is 13 years. That means from the day I put money in, which wasn't necessarily the founding date, until I got out, exit date is 13 years, plus or minus. Fastest one was FitBrains, and that took 7 years. And these, I'm still working on the slowest one right now because it's approaching 20. So this is not a short-term adventure. However, I will say, and this is at the bottom of the page in red, it's a blast. I look back with fond memories in terms of what I did, and would not change anything. Probably that is an exaggeration, but I would change very little. I thoroughly enjoyed my time and all the experiences that went with it. And the last thing comes from John Chambers, who's the CEO of Cisco, and basically he says, go quick, get started and do your thing. So thank you very much for your attendance tonight. It's been fun, and as always, I learned a lot, and I wish you all the best. Michaela?
Thanks, Ralph.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Ralph.
Thank
Thank you very
Um,
much, Ralph.
Do you have time for
Sure
a
do.
few
Question?
questions? Okay, yeah. Okay, can you explain more about the difference between lines 2, 4, and 6, and which you should place like the most value on?
Yeah. Yeah. So value number 1 is line 6, for sure. Sorry, line 2. Get the problem right. No question. Get the problem right, because that goes to that feature value slide. You know exactly what you need. You know the problem to solve. Therefore, you know the value you want to deliver to the customer, and therefore you know the features you got to build. You don't get that, you're going to have the build process not end up in the bullseye. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be line 4, which is the major value that you're going to deliver to the customer. So getting back to the feature value slide that I suggest you print it off, that is the key element in that. And then line 6, interestingly enough, it's a pretty good question, Michaela, changes over time because products are not static. The competition sees what you're doing, the competition sees what you're winning, and the competition will take steps of their own to defeat your differentiator. So you got to be constantly coming up with differentiators. So that's the one that's got constant updating, if you wish. But line 4 should be sustainable and for a long period of time in terms of value.
Awesome. And before I ask the next 2 questions, I'm just going to tell everyone, thank you all for joining us. I sent out an email with our upcoming webinars and our link to apply to the competition and our short 15-second survey, so you can check those things out. Also wanted to thank you, Ralph. This has been so great. Everyone is saying thank you in our question box, and they found it really useful. So we'll keep moving on to the next question. So people are saying with the virus, like it's kind of hard to like walk around and talk to people. Do you have any suggestions about like how you can connect with your customers?
Yeah, typically most organizations have associations, and what I've done before in other situations is go to the associations and start trying to work through the people there that really know the domain well. So in theory, the association should know the domain well, and that would be a good test case for running it by. So let's take Mark's dealership thing. I think that I would go to the dealership association and go, here's what I'm planning on doing. What do you think? Dave's speech impairment thing, I would go, there'll be a Parkinson's association, a stroke association. I would go to those associations and go, here's what I want to do. What do you think? Chang, boy, restaurant association, but Chang's going to have a challenge. I think it's just a very, very crowded space. You're going to have the biggest challenge without a doubt of all 3, Chang, because it's a very, very crowded and tough space.
Yep, I'm ready for it.
Okay, good.
Chang's already been in our competition, like what, 2 times, Chang?
Once as a competitor, several times as a mentor.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, I have faith in you.
Thanks.
All right, and last question. Okay, are the last 2 parts, lines 5 and 6, mandatory components of the positioning statement, and can it be replaced by a comparison with the regular product? Like, if we cannot find the specific competitor, like, okay.
Yeah. So in the world of selling, do nothing is a perfectly valid. That's a competitor. We're into that right now. I mentioned an outfit called Maverick. They, for focus on oil and gas customers. Courtesy of the fact that oil in the last month went from $50 a barrel to under 30, they stopped buying. The value prop is just not sufficient to carry the day. So the answer is yes to that question.
Okay, and then one last question. Let's say you're connected with an investor on LinkedIn. How do you make the next step to having a conversation with them?
So I'll tell you what I did in the way of called an investor approach as an investor. I actually had a little package together of this very topic, Michaela, along with that positioning statement. And I said the following. I used to get these phone calls often saying, can I get 15 minutes of your time, Ralph, to get some advice on this very new opportunity they've got? And I knew darn well they were looking for money. So I would say, you can talk to me provided two things happen. One is you fill out that positioning statement satisfactorily. And secondly, you send it to me and it appeals to investments that I want to make. So I could clearly tell whether it was somebody I wanted to invest in or not based on just reading that positioning statement, because they given it some thought and they knew what they were talking about, and they weren't talking technology, they were talking business value or value to a customer. So I'd fill out the positioning statement and send it to somebody along with maybe a little 1 or 2 pager in terms of what we're trying to do. I'd start with a positioning statement because it appealed to me no end in terms of getting my attention or not. And I'll tell you the statistics. 9 out of 10 people didn't bother doing that because they didn't want to do the work. And then generally I talked to about 1 out of 10 of the ones that I did receive. And the only reason I didn't talk to them or the reasons was it wasn't good enough or I wasn't interested. For instance, I don't do drug investments at all. I don't understand the market, so I just don't bother.
All right, and those are all the questions we had. All right, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a great first webinar of the 2020 competition. Hope you all stay healthy and your families as well. Thank you so much, Ralph, for giving us another webinar. This was a very good success, I feel. Great.
Well, my pleasure. And again, all the best to everybody who attended tonight.
All right. Okay, everyone. I will post this recording on the New Ventures BC website within the next few days. All right. Thanks, Ralph.
Bye now.